Hello everyone, welcome to one more session of our Encora Global Dev Week 2023. I'm Fabio da Sam, I'm a software development manager here at Encora Brazil, and I'm very pleased to be your host in this session today. Now we're going to talk about the case of Choice Hotels, the transformation of hospitality for the customer of the future. Choice Hotels International is leading the way hospitality companies are continuously transforming their businesses to engage the customer of the future. In this session, we will learn how leading hospitality companies are delivering business outcomes with AWS and creating the future of hospitality on behalf of their customers. Our speakers today are Aaron Van Langen and Steven Sihak. Aaron is a senior director of Choice Hotels International, where he oversees test engineering and vendor management organizations. He joined the company in 2017 as director, where he led test engineering for Choice Edge, the Choice's global reservation system. Steven is a seasoned cloud technology expert with 25 years of software development experience and over a decade driving cloud technologies. He has a proven track record of delivering innovative software solutions across a range of industries and platforms. I'd like to remind you guys that you can follow us on our social media networks appearing on the screen, so please do it to be aware of every news, okay? This session is part of the Global Dev Week organized by Encora. You can use the chat to leave comments and ask questions to the speakers. Aaron and Steven will be happy to answer all your questions using the chat, all right? I'm excited to hear about this topic, and I think most of you are too. So please let me invite Aaron and Steven to lead this speech. So guys, welcome aboard. The stage is all yours.
Hi, thanks for having us, everyone. Hey, thanks for the big opportunity for us to talk and speak today. It's already been a pleasure for me, who's worked with so many Encorians, and we are really excited and hopeful to have you guys learn a little bit more about Choice so you can understand how our great company operates. It's funny, it was a couple months ago where we had our first quarterly review with Encora, and I thought that would be the most Encorians I spoke to at one time, but apparently I was wrong on that. So we're going to jump right in since we already did the introductions. So today we're going to be running a very light agenda. I'll be spending some time giving a background of Choice, and then Steven's going to actually do a dive into our technology so you can really learn more about how we function as a company. So Choice is based out of Rockville, Maryland, but our Technology Innovation Center is in Scottsdale, Arizona, where we recently moved into a brand new state-of-the-art building. Our nearly 600 plus technologists work in that building with us, and we are really passionate and excited about what we do. While Choice is more than 80 years old, and it's one of the leading lodging franchisors in the world, for people who are listening today, you may not actually know about our company. But if you started to look at the brands that are cascading on the presentation, you'll probably start to recognize this a little more. Like maybe it's the Quality Inn that you've either stayed at or you've seen. Maybe it's our flagship brand, Comfort. Or maybe it's our newest acquisition, Radisson, that we've just acquired. So first and foremost, we are a hospitality company. Fun fact, we represent 1 in 10 hotels in the United States and 1 in 4 in our mid-scale segment. When I first joined Choice, I didn't really comprehend that. I didn't comprehend what that actually meant. So as I started to drive around and understand our brands, I could really see that just driving through any city. You'd look at various locations. How do we compete against our competitors? What is the location strategy? It's interesting that hotels will start getting closer and closer to street so that you can see them over other companies. And you can tell the ones that have been built after and why are they pushed forward or why they're pushed back. And that's really to get visibility out there as you're potentially driving by. Second, we are a franchise company. Nearly all of our properties are actually owned by a small business. We have 7,400 hotels. Actually, that's more than 7,400 in 45 different countries. I've been fortunate enough in our new building where our hotel owners who are coming through onboarding actually come, they spend a week, they come in and learn how to operate their hotel. And it's really fascinating to get to have an opportunity to go speak with them, learn their passions, learn what brought them to the hotel industry. Sometimes this is their first hotel, sometimes it's their second, sometimes it's a combination where, you know, they may own a different brand. It's common for them to own a different brand and own ours. Or I've met some that own, you know, various trucking businesses. Just their lifelong passion of how they got to this really helps me understand what we do on a day-to-day basis and how impactful that can be. Kind of importantly, we get to do that over drinks. So it's a nice, loose opportunity for us to speak with these owners. Third, we are a technology company. We provide the technology and services that help drive for our guests and for our small business owners to run their businesses. As a technology leader, as mentioned in the introduction, I'm responsible for the quality of our systems. We need our systems to handle the incredible scale that our business requires to be able to hit the performance metrics we need so that we can continue to drive profitability. That profitability doesn't just come to Choice. As I mentioned, we're small business owned. So the majority of that profitability cascades down to those owners. And if you think about those owners, and if we're not successful, this is their livelihood. This is how they supply for their families. This is how they put their kids through college. So it's really at the utmost importance that we keep these systems up and running and able to meet that maximum profitability that we're talking about. As I mentioned, when I get to meet with those franchise owners, it's what drives me to continue to work here at Choice. I love the fact that you get to be so human focused, yet work on technology at the same time. As a technology company, Choice really does have a long history of innovation that goes back decades. Choice was the first to release a mobile iOS app. We were the first hotel company to release a cloud-based property management system, the first hotel company to release a cloud-based reservation system. And recently, we're also the first to replace our legacy CRS system, and that hasn't been done in over 30 years. We're the first major hotel company to go all in on AWS when we began our journey to move all of our systems to the cloud. And then lastly in the middle of the pandemic, we also continued our demonstration towards innovation when we created a new technology, and we actually won a Hotel Visionary Award for our new reservation management system, and it's called Choice Max. It's the industry's first mobile-enabled reservation management system. Excuse me, apologize to that. And then if you just think about our history that we get to see and we get to talk about, we really feel like we've put ourselves in the driving seat for many different opportunities and adventures for us to come through in the future. So that's my background about Choice. I know it wasn't the most detailed, but what we really wanted to do is focus the majority of our time here with Stephen on our technology. So take it away, Stephen.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. So I'm Stephen Chihawk. I'm the Senior Director of Platform Engineering here at Choice. And I want to talk about the platform that we leverage that has allowed us to take advantage of all of the cloud systems that are out there and the scalability of cloud systems. So you can go to the next slide. So as Aaron mentioned, we were the first to replace our central reservation system in the cloud. It's a product that we call Choice Edge. As part of that, we ended up building a self-service platform, and most of our systems today run on this platform. We took this one heavy central reservation system that was written, on green screens in COBOL and transformed it into a cloud-native microservice architecture. And in doing so, we realized, hey, we really need to standardize how we build things. And we want everything to work kind of the same way. So next. So one of the things that we landed on was, hey, we're going to operate in a region and we're going to stripe all of our services across availability zones. And that gives us a high level of resilience when it comes to data center failure. So if one data center in a region fails in AWS, everything automatically, just out of the box, how the platform's built, will flow into the other availability zones. Next. So most systems are built in a very simplistic way. So they have an application load balancer and some routing that points to that load balancer. Those load balancers then for a given service will point to a scaling group made up of EC2 spot instances. And we use spot instances mainly from a cost perspective. So we're very cost conscious. We don't want to waste our franchisees' money. And so we want to make sure that we're getting the maximum we can. So we do leverage spot instances. And there are some things that are a little dangerous around a spot fleet or a spot instance in AWS. They can give you a 2-minute warning that says, hey, we need to replace that instance type. So we went out and worked with NetApp and a product that they have called Spot.io. And that product actually will proactively determine that these instance types are going away and they will replace them for us. And so they stripe our instance types across the entire Spot fleet for a given service. And then again, proactively will ensure that we're on reliable, stable instance types. And that's given us maximum reliability with minimum cost associated. And it's worked really, really well. So next. The other thing most instances do, right? We have some composite instances. We have a microservice architecture again. So some composite instances call other services within our system, but most of them use data in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of times your composite instances will go after cache data. So they hit an Elasticache, and that's either Redis or Memcached. Depends on the use case. And then once you finally get down, if you need to change the data or it's not in the cache, you'll go to an entity service that hits an RDS running Aurora. This is actually the basic structure for most of our applications, right? You have a load balancer, you have a cluster for a given service, and that either hits a cache or it hits Aurora. It's pretty simplistic, but any developer in the company can say, hey, I need to deploy a service and easily go do that on their own. So they're not requisitioning a server and then waiting 5 days. It's hey, I need to go deploy this, and they go deploy it. And it's very fast, and they're up and running in a really short period of time. But with that, right, we have thousands of servers that are running out there with hundreds of services in production. And so it gets really complicated. And when something goes wrong, which it always does, Werner Vogel from AWS does this all the time. Everything breaks all the time. So something's going to go wrong. And we need some observability around this. Next. So next. So our transactions are logged, and we have agents on the boxes that will go out and push that information out to our Logstash cluster that pushes it to OpenSearch. Next. And then for metrics, we actually have a Prometheus that will scrape all those thousands of instances and store them via Thanos in S3. And we're using Thanos to kind of maintain those metrics long term and to provide a little more reliability to Prometheus. We view those metrics via Grafana. And next. And last, we recently implemented a tracing solution and that leverages AWS's distribution for open telemetry. That agent is running on those Spot instances and extracting trace data and pushing them to a CNCF OTel open telemetry gateway collector. So, and there's a couple of things we do with that data. One is we extract specific metrics out of that are very standardized across every system. Most of the metrics that are scraped from Prometheus are very custom in nature. So they're more business and specific to an individual service. These metrics that we're pulling out of OpenTelemetry are very standardized, and they have to do with the number of requests that come into the service, the requests that go out of the service. And that may be a message consumer or a database call. The number of errors that are returned. So if I make a call and an error comes back, that's recorded as an error. And then the duration or latency of those calls. So we leverage those to do a lot of alerting and a lot of management of, or proactively understanding what's happening. Hey, we're getting a higher latency. We need to go figure out what's going on. The other thing that happens with those traces is they are pushed to a Jaeger implementation that uses OpenSearch on the back end. So if you need to look at an actual full trace from our customer all the way down to the database and back out, we visualize that via Jaeger. So this is kind of the basic infrastructure around observability around the service, but there's one piece we haven't talked about yet, is that whenever we made a very deliberate choice at the beginning to say, whenever data changes, we want to know about it. And so it's important to us that we record those events. So next. So every service goes out and will record an event. And we started with ActiveMQ way back when, and that worked really well. It has distributed transactions. We could tie those to the database transactions, and we felt really good about it. But we ran into scaling issues. ActiveMQ does not handle high volume very well, at least in our experience. And so we moved to Kafka. That does not have distributed transactions. It can handle a huge amount of volume, but it does not allow us to have a distributed transaction. So what we ended up doing was wrapping our database transactions around the event publication. So if the event publication fails, we roll back the database transaction. And that's allowed us to ensure that every database change has an event published with it. And those events are used for several things. One is, if you make a reservation, right, we can do some asynchronous processing around the notification to the customer. So you end up with a text message or an email or other things that happen because we've published a reservation event. So sometimes when we make an inventory change, we need to push that out to a partner. So say booking.com, you make a reservation via booking.com or choicehotels.com, which we would prefer. You do it that way. But either way, we have to let Expedia know that, hey, there's fewer rooms available to you. There's only 2 rooms left now. And so we use that eventing structure to say, hey, there's been a reservation and an inventory change. Let me take that and asynchronously send that out. 90% of the time, if not more, we get that done in under 2 minutes, which is record speed. So that's our eventing model. But there's one other thing that we use events for, and that is analytics. Next. So all those events are fed into our analytics engine. So right now we're pushing that into Amazon EMR, and they get other information out there from S3 and from managed airflow. Like we have a Salesforce system that we leverage, and there's events that come out of that. And so that information is pushed through Airflow into EMR. And then all of that data, all those thousands and thousands of transactions are pushed into Redshift, and then SageMaker is used to develop some models, and we get a lot of business intelligence out of all of that data. So we have thousands of reports that go out that help us analyze and how to make the most of the data that we receive about what our customers are actually doing, how they're behaving, and how can we provide better customer service associated with that. So this is how our structure looks in general. Most of our systems follow this pattern. Like I said, this is all self-service. The observability, the analytics come out of the box. All these other pieces get configured by the actual people creating the systems. We are making some changes over the next 18 months. I wanted to just highlight next. So one is we are moving to a container infrastructure. So we're going to leverage Amazon EKS. Today we're using Fargate for to manage the actual Kubernetes worker nodes. We may go to self-managed worker nodes within the next 18 months. That's kind of still up in the air, but this is what this looks like. Some teams have actively started moving to this, but it's still early days. We don't have a lot in production running on this. We hope to change that in the next 6 to 9 months, and then have a full change so it looks like this by the end of 24. Next. The other change is some major changes to our observability. When we added tracing in with OpenTelemetry, we realized that is a much better way for us to manage all the telemetry data. So we're going to use that ADOT collector that's already on the boxes, and from all the other systems that AWS is instrumenting OpenTelemetry, we're going to feed that into our centralized collector, and then push metrics to manage Prometheus, and logs and traces will go to OpenSearch and use managed data prepper to ingest all of that information to OpenSearch. We'll still use Grafana to visualize the metrics and potentially even some of the logs and traces, depending on the capabilities that we can find. And that is, again, expected to be done by the end of 2024. And then the third and final change I want to talk about next is an update to our messaging platform. So instead of having multiple message brokers that we have to maintain and manage, we want to simplify that and move to manage Kafka. So they have a serverless version, which would be used for more of the low volume activity, and a managed version, which we can use to manage all high volume activity. So we expect by the end of 2024, this is what will look like. So our customers come in, they hit load balancers, it goes to the EKS cluster. Those communicate, manage data through either Elasticache or Aurora. They create an event on MSK. All of the activity that happens is fed via OpenTelemetry into our observability platform. And then our analytics is leveraging all those events that are gathered. And the teams can just go out and build this stuff on their own. They're not waiting for a platform to build anything for them. We don't want to get in their way. And so we're really striving for ultimate self-service and making it as simple and easy as possible, so that as Aaron said, the 600 plus technologists in our center in Scottsdale are not hamstrung by the 20 platform people that are managing the structure of what things look like in the cloud. And I think that's it for me. So I'm going to hand it back over to Aaron to close us out.
Thanks, Stephen. I promise you I couldn't have said that any better. So great job there. One, thank you again, Encora, for having us, letting us talk to you guys today. We've had a really good and long-term relationship with Encora. I know it even precedes Encora with our sister partner, but we really appreciate the opportunity today and really look forward to growing our relationship with you guys in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Adam, Aaron. Thank you, Stephen. It was a really great session with a good overview of our business and technical aspects. It was great. Just a quick question for you guys. Do you have an estimation about how many people are involved to maintain all this structure, this architecture?
So the platform itself, we have around 20 people that actually manage how those things are built. So my team actually says, this is what it should look like, and here's a self-service capability to go create it. And then the teams themselves can go out and manage the life cycles of those systems independently. So we're not in the middle of that flow, and it makes it significantly easier.
Wow, great. Yeah, it was. Thank you for this answer. Again, it was a very good overview of this architecture and the challenges that you're facing right now. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for you folks to share all your knowledge today. And also, thank you for all the messages and comments on the chat. I hope you guys have enjoyed this presentation. Please, folks, don't forget to follow us and on our social media networks and take a look at the official agenda in our website to discover all the interesting things, topics, and presentations. Thank you, guys. Aaron, Steven, thank you very much. Bye-bye, guys.
See you, everyone.
Thank you.